Hi, it's Lisa. Thanks for clicking on my video. This is a Dungeons and Dragons inspired junk journal. I have put on a removable clip, little tassel, just made from a variety of ribbons and fibers and all kinds of goodies. The gold leaf trim, I've seen that so many times in so many journals. I loved it. There's gold and green and pink and white you can buy. It's really inexpensive trim. You can get it on Amazon and eBay just by looking, like, I think I just typed in gold leaf trim and got several yards for just a couple of dollars. On the chain, there's only a few charms. I didn't want it to be too clunky. There's a wonderful gold dragon and a moon, some keys, little teeny red keys. They were sort of a bronzy colored key, but to make a match I just dripped some alcohol ink on them to give them a little red tone. And at the top there is a dragon on a sword charm, which I think is really lovely. Like most crafters, I was going through my stash and was actually surprised that I had so many different things that might match the journal. The cover itself is fake leather, black leather, and on top of that is a piece of red sari silk that had a very beautiful paisley and elephant print, but it didn't look right, so I covered it up with some black lace, some really thin black lacing, and a piece of gold trim that I just cut in half because it was so wide and edged it around my tile. Little eyelash trim. The tile itself is sculpted from epoxy clay. I sculpted it using, starting off with a piece of MDF board. You can get that on Amazon as well, and it is this stuff. It's like a board, but about the same thickness as the thick chipboard, but it's a lot more sturdy, and I use that for a lot of my covers. In this case, the cover here is MDF board, so it'll last, and it's going to have to be sturdy to hold up this big honka chunk of clay. The iris was a piece of glass. I found it in a craft store a while back, but I'm sure it's still easily found. Just a glass, I don't know what you call it, it was too big to be for in a bezel. It was about this big and it's about that thick. And on the back of this I used some white acrylic paint to make some dots, white acrylic, and then black acrylic to make the iris, and used Tim Holtz alcohol inks as well as some alloys to make the coloring. I'll try to get it up closer. I don't have the greatest equipment in the world, but so you can see all the little coloring detail in there. I just love it. And you can see where I put some rhinestones. I just used the end of a big stylus and small stylus to make little holes and glued in some rhinestones. Most of them are red. There are a couple that are, I think they call them AB color, where it is partially green, partially red. So it sort of looks like it changes colors when you do it. And just a really light dusting of some bluish pigment that will stay on there hopefully forever. I've rubbed and rubbed and rubbed just to make sure it doesn't come off. This is, like I said, the biggest junk journal, thickest that I've ever made. So it is probably about a 6.5 inch gator mouth and a 5-inch spine. Underneath the faux leather I put some strips of the MDF that was left over from the tile to give it that old book feel that I think looks so wonderful. There's nothing on the back, it's just plain. So there's the top, showing lots of fibers and yummies. And the bottom, I didn't want to put too many dangles this time because I know the person who's getting it is going to be sitting it on a shelf, and sometimes that can be clunky and scrape up your furniture if you have, the beads and stuff like that. And if it's got too much lace, sometimes it'll make it wonk around on make it not sit nice and firm. So let's get in here so I can show you what I stuck in there. I'm going to try my best to not make a monster long video like I usually do and not talk so much and just show you what I made. On this one, I made the chain where it could be altered in case you needed to remove a few links or add a few links. It's easy to do. If you want to make it a thinner journal, she could just take out some links and take out some of the tags, or if she wanted to add some, then she could use this extra link I have on the side. To start the journal, I made an image by using previous existing images, but I altered the colors and shapes, and this was not an image you can find on the internet. I painted the hair on and used parts of other images to create my own mix and match. This dragon was amazing, so I had to use that one. And this is a piece of just acetate, and made a pocket. I did not put anything in this pocket just because I wanted to leave it where I could see the picture really clear. I just love it. I think it's beautiful. And it looks like the dragon is coming out of like a cave toward the character. If you're not familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, it is a role-playing game that people get together and play, or they now have it online as well, so you can have online teams. Sorry about the glare. Hopefully the next ones won't be quite so shiny, so you won't be blinded. This is Tim Holtz, Abandoned Paper. I love that paper line. I was so sad to hear he wasn't. Ranger was no longer going to have it out there, but it's just a gorgeous little book of amazing papers. This is cheesecloth that I put into a baggie and put all kinds of browns and greens sprays and give it that, well, hopefully dungeony look. And then took a little bit of glue mixed with water and dabbed it, let it dry so it have a little bit of stiffness to it. This is that, hi Daddy, that little ribbon. You'll see it in a lot of junk journals. I don't know what it's really called, so I call it seaweed journal. Seaweed journal, seaweed ribbon. The first page is weapons, and I put some glossy accents with some drips of alcohol ink to make it look like blood. In Dungeons and Dragons, you pick your character, race, and your class. So you might be a hunter or a mage or a warlock or a vampire or an elf or a bard. And in this case, this is a little dwarf. I don't know what his class was, but he apparently didn't make it. But hope is still never lost when you have your quest to do. The person that is getting this journal will most likely not be a big journaler, so it was to be an image-heavy journal, but plenty of space to write memories from when she gets together with friends to play Dungeons and Dragons, so she can write down her memories of what happened or who was present, or just thoughts along the way, or just not necessarily just about the game, but about her life and what she's done. Places to tuck in receipts from the snacks, the meals, the pizza, or where they went to for afterward to enjoy their day. This little tag is so cute, and I love it for one reason, that it came with, it didn't. The set to make it comes with the Tim Holtz little sidekick miniature die cutting machine. And if you can't afford a big die cutting machine, those are about, I think, about $40. And it comes with a free set to make tags. It has a little embossing folder. I don't know if you can see on there, but that's got some embossing to it. It has the number die set. It has several little stamps, including the frame, and it gives you a great startup set. This tag has the sorry for your loss, and that has to do with this little dwarf guy where he's passed away. But this is a tag from probably the first card set I ever got. My mother-in-law got it for me when my son was born, and he's now 24. So going back through that card set and what was left over was sort of fun. This tag is the Dungeons and Dragons logo that I got off the internet and added. I just underline the underline on your computer keyboard and made some lines and double spaced it so that she could have some writing spaces. If you go to the dollar store, they often have these little bitty dictionaries. They're about, about that big. And so for $1, it's nice to have one. You can just cut out little words. In this case, I got dwarf. She was telling me, I asked her a little bit. She doesn't know she's getting this, by the way. But she was telling me, it's my niece, that they have a dungeon master who had told them to please show up at a certain time, and a couple people didn't. So she went on and let it play out, and apparently some fella died. His character was a dwarf, and it was because the other players didn't show up. But that was her way of teaching them a lesson about showing up on time. So it was just a funny memory to her. The group she seems to get with has a lot of fun together. I don't know a whole lot about Dungeons and Dragons, but I do know a few things. Apparently the leader of the group is called a Dungeon Master, or DM, and sometimes there are phrases that they say regularly, apparently, according to online things, like, you can certainly try. So say if they put them in a situation where they're going to go fight, and they say, I want to do this to fight the dragon, they can say, you can certainly try, and then you roll the dice. So that's what some of the comments are for, of what they might be hearing at the game. And I just put, again, some tags where she can write her memories. On this one, I just added some gold foiling, or gold leafing. Just spread some glue, stuck it on when it dried, swept off all the other pieces, and put it back to use later. A little spot to write on. A little dragon image. Some of these images I got from gaming magazines. My son games quite a bit as well, and the magazines have several guns. He's not a Dungeon and Dragon guy, but there were images there. Some came from online, and some were, well, still online, but were from picture sites where you can have a subscription. So I have a subscription, say, to Adobe, where I can download like 20 images a month. And also there are some free images online as well that you can download. This is one of the ones that I altered. I put a background, I don't know if you can really see it, but I just made a little envelope, putting the logo, and made my own little envelope so I could stick it in here, and she can have a little spot to put things secretly hidden. Little dragon image. I mean, it's a sleeping dragon. So. Again, I'm trying to talk a little fast because this is a big book, and I don't want you to feel like you have to stay here forever just to see what's in it. Nice piece of lace. It's sewn on. And this chain die, I don't even know. I think it's an unbranded die, because it came with 3 in a set, and they weren't in a package, and I just found them somewhere for $1, and I thought these were wonderful. I'd never seen them before. Again, another little piece out of the dictionary. It just says dragon. Gives the definition. Here's the other chain that came in that set. These are graphic 45 papers for, I'm thinking it's called Enchanted, anyway, that's not the right name. Enchanted Forest line, maybe? I know it has a lot of, like, knights and princesses. Wonderful image. I think this is actually a Dungeons and Dragons image. Looks like there's maybe a hunter, paladin, mage, rogue. And a nice tag to write on. This is one of the old Jolie stickers that were 3D. And I've had that in my stash for, well, those of you who have it in your stash, you'll know how old that is. I've seen them in a few journals, and I think there were like 7 or 8 in a package. This, oh, like I said, I won't be rolling it up. I must have stuck a little piece of upholstery material back there. Make a special hidey spot. Right. There are PNG files. I'm an old lady, so all this stuff is new to me too. But PNG files means basically it's just a picture without a background. So it's just like floating around. And if you have any kind of, even you can use Microsoft Word or whatever, and you can overlay images. And so those little dragons were a PNG image I found for free on the internet. So I laid them over some brown. Little bookmark. So it can go into different spots. Cute little lace. This is just an image tacked on, no pocket. And there. Another image with the Dungeons and Dragons logo. This one made me giggle. Again, I don't know that much. I do know a little bit about some games, but this made me laugh. This is actually a meme off of YouTube. Off of Facebook. It says Rust Monster. You just had to go brag about your armor class, didn't you? You know, if you have armor and, well, you're proud of it because you can't get killed so easily, but then somebody in the game institutes a rust monster that eats your armor away. More tags. One of a kind. Favorite. This was a fun find for me. I don't go to the dollar store looking for craft supplies often, but I went in there one day and they actually had a Project Life card kit, just one. I don't know why it was there. It had like 70 cards in it, and I snagged it up for $1. This is an actual tarot, or tarot? I don't know how you say it, card set. It's the Celtic set, and there were quite a few of the cards that had dragons on them, so I put those in there. Little tag. It says here there be dragons, like it's off of a map. This is one that I made up by just using some of the graphic 45 paper. A beautiful piece of lace and a dragon. And again, just graphic 45 paper. You know, there are so many fun paper clips that you can get on Amazon that I've almost overlaid myself with paper clips, and half the time I don't know what to use, but you can go and look up shaped paper clips and you'll find all kinds, whether it be cats, dogs, penguins, flamingos, or in this case teardrop shapes. Even though this is not Dungeons and Dragons, I'm throwing in a little culture whether she likes it or not. This is from 1460. It's a print from an old painting of, what's it called? The artist was Antonio del, I don't know how you say it, Palaio, and it is Saint Michael the Archangel. So Michael stabbing the dragon. That seemed to be a very popular drawing theme back in the Renaissance era. Here is a Dungeons and Dragons class, which I have no idea what it is. Maybe a monk. Looks like it's got the beads, so my guess is a monk. If there is anybody who's watching this that knows about Dungeons and Dragons and I am slaughtering anything, please leave a comment to straighten me out. I'm okay with that. And again, some more of the fun little leaf. Okay, this I call my storm paper. And you're going to see storm paper throughout here. This is paper I've dyed myself. And what happened was I put, some of it was coffee dyed, and I also made different trays with some inks and such. And I bundled them up in between cookie sheets to dry and clip them, because you want them to dry a little bit slow so they get some more color. And I totally forgot they were out there for like a week. And this big storm hit, and mud was on them, and dirt, and it turned out, once, I'm not even keep all of them, some of them were pretty too gross, but some of them turned out just fabulous. They're nice and smooth, they're not all gritty, but they turned out to be wonderful papers that I will never be able to recreate. We got some little beads. Use a little foiling to make the clip. This is the iconic, everybody wants this tag. I bought it a long time ago when I was trying to sell Stampin' Up, but like a lot of people, I don't have the ability to not give my discount to friends and family, so of course I'm not a very good seller of those kind of things. Made a pocket. On the back is just some of the graphic 45 paper. I don't know about my lights here. Hopefully you can see things with different images, all different kinds of beasties and creepy crawlies. Oh, he's cool. This looks like some kind of troll or orc. Again, the Dungeons and Dragons logo and some kind of creepy scarecrow looking monster, which I don't know what it is. I think this came out of one of the gaming magazines. I'm just going to go through and I'll put it all back together later so you don't have to watch me put it back together, because I got rid of my video editor because it kept making me mad because they kept raising their prices so for their monthly fee, which there wasn't supposed to have been one in the first place. So this is going to go through without editing, with all my ramblings. It's Tim Holtz rub-on from one of his old rub-on sets, and just a little piece of lace. Again, another game card. And I did put some coffee dyed paper on the back. Some little beastie. It's all creepy and sewn. Another little piece of coffee dyed paper on the back so she can write her thoughts. This is one of those, let's try to see if it works, and it works, so I stuck it in the book. Just a odd little pocket where I sewed down to make divisions. Some roads you shouldn't go down, because maps used to say there were dragons here. Now they don't, but that don't mean the dragons aren't there. It's a quote by Noah Hawley, whoever that is. And here there be dragons. A little rub on there that says beware. A cork tag. I received that as a rack one day. Okay, this is just fun quotes that were on the Dungeons and Dragons chats. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You did 2d6 + 4 damage to my father. Prepare to make a saving throw. I don't know if that's humorous in Dungeon and Dragon world, but it sounded like it could be, so I stuck it in there. Keep calm and obey your dungeon master. And that little tag. That's some odd gold, well, it's like multicolor foiling. You got this. This emblem is actually my niece's dice board. I asked her to send me some pictures, and it wrinkled, and I was sort of thought it was cool, so I left the wrinkle in there and just added to it to highlight it. But when she sent it to me, I printed it out and stuck it in my book. No, I was going to leave that out, but that's afraid it'll just start falling all over the place. Whoops. Well, maybe I will. Oops, shaking everything. Again, I'm not a pro at filming, can you tell? This was a piece, and the paper that I put it on, it just didn't match, so I just glued it on top. And the edging on that is actually, so I can find them here. Oh, anyway, I had a set of clippers that I got from my husband, and inside it was a set of these, I guess they're thinning scissors, and so they don't cut all the way through anything, sort of, but they gave this funky little edge, which actually looks really good on stamps if you're trying to make your own stamps. Just a little fun tip there. I love when you're making a junk journal or book and you always have a little bit of space between your signatures, so that way on these two pages, at least for me, I put my thicker items there. This one is, this is just a image. This is a resin mold that I bought. I think it's from Prima IOD, and this was off of the packaging, and it shows what you can make with the mold. I made a little flippy switch. Gotta have little interactive pieces that makes it more fun. Card. This is a stamp from, that's what it's called, Enchanted Forest. It's the Graphic 45 Enchanted Forest paper line. This was one of the stamps. So I just made a little card to add some stuff. I think that was one of the stamps on it too, and I just added a little color with some alcohol inks. Again, my niece's playing board and her dice. It's a picture. Cute little envelope. Look at that. I love it. It looks all vintage. It actually just is one flat. It's not, you know, a decoupage or anything like that, or a collage. It is from Amazon, and I think you get like 50 for like $5 or $6. So it's really cute. And it come in different designs. I think there were like 5 or 6 designs in the box. And again, just a little stamp. If Kirsten Bullion is watching this, she's a friend, a crafty friend from Germany, and during one of our swaps one time, she sent me a set that had bunches of little stamps. This is one of those. One of the best things I think about being a crafter and having a little hoard is that it's almost like going shopping. Whenever you start looking for a different theme and you go through your stuff and realize, hey, I got more stuff in that than I thought I would. So I was able to find some fun things for this journal. Just some basic tags, pre-made tags that I just added stamped images to. Just a little fun. Again, from the Enchanted Forest, that was one of the stamps I think is so gorgeous. Look at that. Love that image. Beautiful. I think it's a Hampton Arts image. An abandoned abundance. Stick that back in there a bit later. This was fun. I just used one of the Tim Holtz little tiny clips. They're so cute. And this is a map. Oops. Upside down map. Oops, if I can undo it here, right? Oh, I got it all stuck on there. Oh, I think it's my... Oh! I'm supposed to untie it first. That's what it is. Right. It's been a while since I made that one. I just stuck it on there at the last minute. It's actually just a stick out of the backyard. And a map. It says, Here There Be Dragons. And roll them up, and then clip it on. Isn't that beautiful paper? I love Graphic 45. It just seemed to match this imagery really well. This is a charm that I had in my stash. Sort of looked to me like it would be a emblem of some clan or some military group. Probably what you'd need to be in if you were going to go out and attack a dragon. Another of the Celtic tarot cards. It's a 7 of Cups. Did a little sewing with a different stitch on the bottom. On the back. This is out of one of those planners. It was just one of the notes. My niece's birthday is during that week. Since this journal was for her, I took it out of the book so she could have a little writing spot. Two little pockets there. Oh, this is like the best of the storm paper. I don't know if you can tell. Like, this is literally where the cookie sheet was laying over top, and all of the ink and stuff got wore off between the slats, and more debris and everything flew on them. And when they dried, I went out and there were like leaves and twigs all over it. Journey, Be Fearless. Again, it's a Tim Holtz rub-on. Imagination. This is a stencil, and it had several wings on it. Piece of filigree. This was, I used the eyelet that's holding the charm on. I punched it through with the crocodile through the piece of metal filigree to hold it on. And that way it's on there pretty good and sturdy. Little velvet. Some, well, I think this is a time card or a ledger. A little time card piece. It says Dungeon, Underground Prison. Again, from the dictionary. Little Dungeons and Dragons card. This was also some of the storm paper. Some of this is just Tim Holtz inks, and where I sprayed them, and they were already saturated, and this spray just sat there, and I didn't realize it sat there instead of blended, and it turned out really well. Stamped images, more rub-ons, little gold doily. I think what happened here, this was supposed to have been a, because I made this page a little while ago, but I made a paper on the back and I didn't like it, so I ripped it up, and then I liked it after I ripped it off. And it had some gold trim on the back, so it sort of shines through a little bit. Another gold doily. This is one of the Lavinia stamps, a dragon. This is, what was that? How did I do that one? I can't remember now, but anyway, I made the white image down off of the stamped image. Maybe it was the alcohol lift ink. But may you touch dragonflies and stars, dance with fairies, and talk to the moon. That's one of the Crafter's Companion stamps that was part of the Molly Harrison line with the fairies. Another little envelope that I made and put together with different images. I don't know if you can see it, but the same image that's on the front here, I put it on a little piece of paper and just faded it. Well, cut it down. It's just the same image, just faded down. Made it almost like a little piece of dragon stationery. T.K. Gregson. It was a dollar store book, and I just picked it up because it had some poetry, and I was thinking about cutting it apart just for the words. But some of his poems are really good. I was really impressed, and now I'm a fan. So this is one of the Anna Griffin, probably called, it starts with a D, so may remind me. That's the gold things that's made in Germany, and maybe wrong. Anyway, little tag from the Once Upon a Time line. It's got all the little glitter. And wonderful moon die, and it's on a thick piece of cardboard, so that way I'll only attach it here and here, so I can have it as a pocket. I don't know. It's about finding your passions and giving them the respect they deserve. I think people my age, we often put down the gaming thing, but it is a great way for youth and young people to meet other people from all over the world, and to do so innocently without having bad things come about. Beware of the smiling DM or dungeon master. And it also is lined. This is a printed paper and inked on the edges, and a dice, animated of course with a nice little tongue. Cut that out and stuck it onto a glassine bag. 2 places to write. On the back, this is, I think this was a fan art. I'm thinking it was out of a magazine. One of the game magazine, I'm not sure, but I think so. But it was like one of the fan art pages where they publish things that fans have sent in. What doesn't kill me gives me XP. And in the gaming world, if you're not familiar, XP means experience, so that means your character can raise levels and get stronger. Stencil. Stenciling work there. A lot of inking around the edges. Okay, this, I remember this page specifically because it was horrible. I had done some stenciling on these pages and it looked so bad, but I had already decided and done these sides, so I had to keep it. So I ended up just covering it up with everything I could find, from washi tape to different layers of cardstock, and just sewed in random ways around it, and lots of little pieces of ribbons, and made a little tag out of some craft cardstock. So this is just craft cardstock with a stamp frightful and some leafing just on gold, silver and gold. I think a little dark road. One of her characters is I think it's a dark elf, and so that's why you'll see some of the dark elves in here. Some different sheets of the storm paper. I love that. Just loving the storm paper. Look how wonderful that one turned out. Love that. A couple little feathers, little ostrich feathers that were on a strand. And there's some of the silver leaf. Another paper that I just made using some of the PNG clip art, and just made some lines using, actually no, this is a copy of a torn piece of notebook paper, and it's printed onto it. The Monster Manual. I don't know if you can see these. Again, you can see this little bard's lute over here. I think it's what they're called. Maybe you're wrong. Because one of the characters that my niece is a bard, where they're the musicians. Rachel, a lovely crafter, and who also sells Stampin' Up, sent me this as a little kindness thing. Quite a nice little package she sent. She said she was getting rid of some of her junk journal stuff, and I said, just pass it on, sister. And so she sure did, and she loaded me up with stamps and all kinds of fun stuff. This is, the brown out here is inking I did, but all of this other stuff was just a dirty image that I expanded on from the internet, and I just made it really big, and then I just cut a piece of it out and attached a little clip art image of a bard's instrument. Look at this cute little sheep, little heart paper clips. I think you get like 400 of them for $5 off of Amazon. Not 400, 100. And yes, I really do need all these dice. Apparently for Dungeons and Dragons there's a lot of dice that you have, and you use them for different things, all depending on what's going on. Some of the Tim Holtz fabric tape. And followed by a small mug of blood back to my throne for more planning reports. This was a bigger piece out of a book that was torn up, so I started cutting it up and finding words that seemed to match. You know, I got mud and blood and all that stuff's got to be Dungeons and Dragons. Just the internet. This is a free stock image of just a bunch of dice. And a creepy little creepy, shooting some creepy things at more creepy stuff. So anyway, that's Dungeons and Dragons, I guess. These stamps were so old, I was so excited to use them. Again, storm paper. You can tell how dirty and grungy it is on the edges. This is not me inking it. The brown part isn't. This was actually storm damage. Okay, this is probably the page that doesn't really go in here real well, but I liked it, so she's getting it. But anyway, look at that image. Isn't that cute? It's more comical. The different characters sitting down. You got this satyr playing his little guitar, trying to obviously flirt with the elf who is not interested. Little kitty. Live every day. And on the back there's some coffee dyed paper. Now, this is storm paper. I love how this looked on the edge. I didn't do this. This was where the ink just ran and got grunged up with probably a little tree goop and just turned out really cool. It almost looks like it flames. But this is a Sizzix die set, cut out in black cardstock. I just thought it was just really beautiful. And hey, there's a bird on there, right? So that match. This image was off of the Dungeons and Dragons instruction site, and it was called an bear eagle or an eagle bear. I thought, okay, that's cool. Another thing that is not Dungeons and Dragons is Arthur Rackham. One of his prints from the Grimm's Fairy Tales. It's the, what is it called? The King's Only Daughter being carried off by a dragon. Storm paper and a wing stencil. Fly, be true. I love it that Arthur Rackham is in the public domain of images. I don't really know the story as to why his images are public domain now. I don't know if it's because of where he lived, that their public domain was less copyrighted than ours, many years or whatever, but I'm so grateful for it. Okay, look at this storm paper. This was, again, one of the back sheets, so the cookie, can't think now, the drying, what do you call those things? Where you put your cookies on so they can cool off, cookie cool rack. Anyway, so I had used zip ties around these stacks of paper and used these massive cookie sheets on the back, so that's why there's this great checkered print from the storm paper. And just sewn a little bit, the edging from all the gunk. You can get receipt books from the dollar store if you're lucky enough to find a dollar store that has them. And so I just stapled a feather on there. This is the Lavinia, again, dragon. Lavinia stamp dragon. This is a second generation stamp from this guy. Come on. Over here there's a real plant inside of a tag. I don't know if you can see it. There you go, is that better? And a wax Yggdrasil, how do you say that? Stamp? Wax seal. The very first junk journal I'd ever received, I hadn't even made one, I received in a swap from a group I was in, and the lady included this, and she had this and a couple others, and she included 2 of each one. So I thought I would take the one out that I'm not using and pass it along to my niece. And that was probably 10 years ago. A little paladin, I guess. And then again, the Enchanted Forest paper line from Graphic 45. And that's what this is from as well. Got a dragon eye image here for a little pocket, covered in some lace down to bottom, and a wonderful dragon charm. So I did put an eyelet here since this had so many holes so it wouldn't tear through. And this, I ripped this off of the paper. You can see this is the same as that stamped image back here, but it was also on their paper line. And I did some stenciling and sewing. And this is a little tag that I stamped a dragon and just colored it. I used my inks. And that would be the real image, the full image. And that's just the head up here in the corner. This is a reduced size. If you hear some flopping around back there, one of my cats is attacking his cat tree. Reduced sized character sheets from the game. And it does say on it that it was okay to photocopy these. But I thought they were cute. So I photocopied them and shrunk them to make your own characters. You know, their current hit points, their names, their personality traits. So you can use that for some notes or just to... Ooh, kitty fight. Hey, you two. Cut it out back there. Hissy fit. Made a little book with some beads. This is a die from one of the Crafter's Companion Planner die sets. And the little tags, Dearly Departed. I think it's from the Tim Holtz, the tiny text for Halloween. And just embossed that and stuck it on with an eyelet, a little teeny tiny clip. This is a Sizzix set of where you make your own little paper clips. So that's what all of these are from. And different stamps. I think the majority of them are Tim Holtz stamps that I just stuck on the Admit one, and I just did a simple fast stamp. I didn't want it to be a clear image, so that it would look sort of used and abused. And that's actually a piece of filigree, metal filigree, and I laid it down and just inked over it. Tim Holtz decoupaging tissue paper, storm papers, and just a little flip-flop piece of leftover paper. Yeah, it's a junk journal after all, right? Tim Holtz stamp. I think it's the grunge, one of the grunge stamps. Can't remember what it's fully called. Just didn't care if they were stamped well. Again, storm paper. Love that. It's just, I wish I could let you see it. And doesn't have a texture, which was surprising to me because I was afraid that the papers were ruined. But you can write on them, and it just turned out great. It's going to be my new thing now to try. I wonder if I'll ever be able to duplicate it again. Just let the storm rage on your dyed papers and see how it turns out. Look at that. This turned out so cool. And the way that it made what inks I had sprayed between pages and the coffee dyeing on some of them, it just looked great. It was like 4 different stacks. Some were coffee dyed, some had inks. Let's get that little thing here. Just a fun little place to put some notes, some thoughts. Just a big edging die. Wonderful image again, just a dragon. Sort of a silhouette of whatever that fella is. Stencil. With some of the hickory smoke ink from Tim Holtz. Some sewing around the edges. Another dragon fight. Yes, Dungeons and Dragons. Got to be a lot of dragon fights, right? Just some inked index card. Imagine, and on the back it's because the world. Imagine the world. This is just a print out of an eco image that was on the computer. This is an Adobe image that I licensed accidentally. That's a whole story. I'll tell you that some other day. I ended up with quite a few images that I paid for and licensed and didn't intend to pay for and license. But anyway, that happens when you're not paying attention to the fine print. This is from the Tim Holtz Abandoned line. And gorgeous. Love that line. A library card packet. Again, if you are looking for these kind of things, you can buy them by boxes of 100 on Amazon. Or you can find somebody who sells them in smaller packets. Just a nice regular library card, just grunged up. This was a piece out of a book, and it didn't quite fit, so I just twisted it and glued it down. Like, yeah, it's a junk journal. When we stop seeking, we stop finding. And when we stop finding, we stop growing. This is a corner dice from Catfish's Companion. Isn't she beautiful? Beautiful image with her gold dragon. A map. Here be dragons. And again, my niece's die set. Just an image that I took and put on the paper, faded out some lines in the back and printed out for her tag. This is a Tim Holtz stamp that does all these little, I forget what set it's from, and I've had it out for so long. I keep it on a block because I use it probably more than any of them. And she can use some white gel pen if she has one. A great big, ooh, great big wow gold foil on some storm paper. And this guy, just held this guy on there. This is another Renaissance painting, not Dungeons and Dragons, but there is a dead dragon right there. It is St. George praying after slaying the dragon by Heinrich Leffler. He painted it in 1899. I wonder if Heinrich Leffler ever thought he'd be in a Dungeons and Dragons gaming book, but there you go, Henrik. This is one of those envelopes. You can get these also on Amazon. Get a box of 100 for just a very, very inexpensive. A dragonkin card. From what I understand in Dungeons and Dragons, a dragonkin is like an intelligent, half human, half dragon. They're very studious. I'm not sure if that's right, but that's from what I've seen and what I read. Some just scraps of paper. I can make some little note cards, little note tags out of. Got a couple in there. Epic. That's a word. I don't know if they still use that word. It seems like it was a 90s word. It's also a type of gear. If you have epic gear, I don't know if it's in Dungeons, but some gaming, that's your best gear is your epic gear, where it makes your character stronger. This is a meme off of Facebook. Level 20, you'll get there one day. Am I assuming that level 20 is the highest level you can get? Not sure. And then there is the 3D, I just stuck that in there for fun, the 3D impresslet from Tim Holtz. I love those things. If you haven't ever bought an impresslet die and you're into crafting, at least get one to try. So fun. Dungeons and Dragons, the logo. And again, that's that paper where I said, it just looked so messy, but it's not inked. It just is that way from printed out. I love this that it has this line there, and that's also not real. It just looks like it's a half torn line, like it's going to fall out, but it's not. This is from that old card set that my mother-in-law got me. I was telling you about, where I was looking through 20-some years old card making kit. Wishing you peace in this troubled time. Looks like a dragonkin with his big weapon. I don't know. Anything that looks like that always makes me think it mind controls you. Got the octopus tentacle face. I did just sew that on. Another dark elf rogue, it looks like, and I think that's what her character is, and I got her to tell me that it had white hair. So that's why it's so white. Oh, that card set, reality check. I love that those are cut through. It just looks so cool. It's just, literally everything's just cut out. They came like that. So, and this is that paper that you can buy that looks like it's been dyed, but it's just printed on. Sewed a piece of lace on. Again, her dice set. This is an actual picture that I printed out from that same dollar store set that came, that's so amazing. Okay, to me this was funny from what little gaming knowledge I have. Dungeons and Dragons stats explained with tomatoes. This person says strength, this is helping you understand what is strength, is to be able to crush a tomato. Gaming terms. Dexterity in the game is being able to dodge a tomato. Constitution is being able to eat a bad tomato. Intelligence is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put a tomato in a fruit salad. Charisma is being able to sell a tomato-based fruit salad. And then someone else responded to the conversation, a tomato-based fruit salad would simply be salsa. And then somebody else responded, guys, I found the bard. So anyway, I found it funny. Just different characters. You might not, but a little bit of gaming knowledge I have. Okay, fine, I'll admit it. I play World of Warcraft. It's my thing. It's my guilty pleasure, so I did fine here. Okay, shh, don't tell anybody else. Okay, another dwarf with his little axe, a piece of acetate, and I didn't want him to be able to fall out, so I didn't want to see either the glue on him, and so I put in quite a few eyelets, and on each eyelet there's these little charms. There's some little, this has a big diamond-like gem in it. And come on, dwarves are known for the treasure. Little triquetra, Celtic, to me dwarfs and elves are Celtic. There's a little Celtic symbol, some beautiful filigree. Were these? This was out of a necklace. I had a necklace that was full of these. It was so beautiful, but I never wore it. I just wanted to cut it apart so I could use it for craft stuff. Again, dark elf rogue. And these are images that I just created off of, took some off of some images and stuck them on a background of like a dungeon that I faded out. This is this piece of sari silk. It's the very first piece of sari silk I ever bought, and it was only a teeny tiny one. But I was afraid that the waxed thread, where this was so much shorter, might pull through and damage the edge of that paper. So I put some sari silk in there to help hold it. And just lots of little fun danglies. Ribbons, danglies, different lengths, little diamonds. What's over here? Anything? Oh, some turquoise beads. Another clear acetate pocket, filigree. And some dragon tags. Printed paper, love the journey, rub on. Mimic chest. In a game, if you go up to a mimic chest, it looks just like a regular wooden chest and where you can get treasure out of. And some of them are just regular chests, but a mimic is actually a monster. And so if you try to open it to take its treasure, it will eat you. You can't fight it. If you win, you get the treasure. If you don't, you die. So this is from the Tim Holtz Abandoned paper line. That paper is so beautiful. I love it. This was out of a gaming piece article, art by Christopher Burdett for the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition monster manual. So here's some of the monsters that would be in that one. I like this little piece of wood. Definitely not a mimic. It's a mimic. So it's an eco monster. Monster chest. More writing space. A little piece of lace. There. Dungeons and Dragons. I just put that on an image and printed it out. Roll the dice. And this is the other side of that envelope. And here I copied out of a dollar store Sudoku book, game book. I copied 3 little things in case she was bored and maybe electricity was off that day or something, couldn't use their computer or laptop. So here's 3 little games, and on the back I did put the puzzle answer sheets. Just something to do. Another Renaissance painting. I think it's called The World Child, or The Child in the World. And it's just on some paper where you can journal. Little paper clip. Fun map. I like this little map. It's got some unique name locations, like the Sword Coast, the Sea of Swords, the High Forest. Just fun. And right on the back. This is off of one of the expansion packs for Dungeons and Dragons. Look at this is fun stuff. Just in between acetates, a real fern. I guess it's a leaf, a little flattened leaf, and just sewed around it. This is, again, a dollar store had a pad of these. I had 50 pieces, a different Lavinia stamped dragon. And again, that's just a stamp, and then to make it look like it went through, that's just a second edition or second generation stamped image, so it looks like it went through, but it really didn't. That was hard to line up, by the way. But I did it. Let's see here. These are old Stampin' Up. I don't know if you remember these old Stampin' Up clips. Still have quite a few of those left from years and years and years ago. I love this big old fat clip. It's so cool. Just storm paper with a little stenciling and sewing around the edges, and you can journal on it. Creepy, creepy, creepy. This was fun to make. This, I have a Welsh Dragon die. I think I got it off of eBay. It was unbranded, I think. At least, hopefully it was, because if not, then I got one of those bad copies. But I didn't know that there was any official manufacturer of it, so I just love that die, though. It's got a little different embossing. I colored the eye in. Isn't that cool? I did the Ancestry.com thing and found out that I'm mostly Welsh and Scottish. Mostly from Wales and Scotland, I mean. This is just 2 envelopes together. Part of that map. And then inside, her eyes were dark. Siwa told them where we were going and waved us through, warning us not to get lost. It's just out of some little horror book I think I had. An Adventures League from Dungeons and Dragons. This is a printable for players, a character sheet, so they can create their own characters again and keep a written list of what their characters' characteristics are. Something over here, a printable sheet that you can download from Dungeons and Dragons. At least I think that's where it was from. And it gives her a lot of writing space on the back too. And I'm just going to put that on. I'll probably fall out of it. Oh, Again, Lavinia stamps. I just stamped it with some Versamark and put some clear embossing powder on it. My heart has wings and I can fly. Just some extra journaling space on the storm paper. And that's just a piece of handmade paper. It's really rough and it's got little sticky sticks and twigs in it, so definitely can't write on that. This is the Tim Holtz Big Z Cathedral die, and I cut, I think, 4 or 5 of them out of some chipboard. Stuck them together so it gives it a 3D appearance, especially where it's between signatures. And a little tag. This is storm paper. Look at that. I don't know if you can see all that detail. I love it. Dungeons and Dragons. Stand boldly. It's a rub-on from Tim Holtz in the little file. Look within. It's from Tim Holtz grunge dance. Yeah, I think that's what they were called. Some grunge something. You do have to push on that a little bit and raise it up to get it in there. I don't know if you can see this, but down in here I glued in some little rhinestones. Look like diamonds. I mean, go on, diamonds. Dragons have treasures. Right? So we've got some treasures in there. This is from the Dungeons and Dragons gaming book. This is about a bard and the characteristics of a bard, how they use music and magic together to, you know, and get experience. Tim Holtz, abandoned paper. Oh, it's so beautiful. Look at those colors. And being a bard, fighting, had to have a little musical charm here. I think it's pretty cute. And here's 2 little tags. This one has a dragon. A little 3D dragon. It's a gorgeous little charm. Look how cute it is. Oh, you can't see it. Can you see that little dragon? Come on, how close can I get? No, not that close, I guess. But anyway, it's just really fun. I wish you could see the detail, but my camera's not good enough. Some foiled, glittered paper. It seems like it's from that old line too. Was it called Once Upon a Time? I can't remember now. It was like, I think it was by Die Cuts with a View paper, or Once Upon a Time. And this is, I asked my niece, she had some site you can go into and put your character in, your characteristics, and it gives you like a little, you know, cartoony version of your character. And she did that for both of her characters, and she sent me copies of it, so I took it out, turned it into a PNG, and then made some lines on some paper, like the old school paper, and the names of her characters, so she could have us, you know, make it more personalized for her. Again, Tim Holtz abandoned paper. Flip it over. This image is in photo corners, like the old-timey photo corners, so this does pop out of there. And then you can write on the back, or you could put your own photo in. I'll just leave it. Come back and do that later. This, usually you want your tags to come out this way, and I can't remember now, but something happened. I sewed it wrong, but I thought it worked out right, so I just left these tags thin so that they would bend easily. It makes it easy to get them out. I sewed 2 little pockets out of some tulle. I folded the tulle though, so it wouldn't tear. And there's a big tag back here. It's just plain on the back. And this is one of the Tim Holtz journaling cards out of his journaling card ideology packs. A little bit of lace on the edge, and put a little clippy in. I attached a lock and some keys. And I found out that I did not know that there were vampires in Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if that's a new thing or an old thing, but I remember back in the late 80s, 90s, the one time I did look at Dungeons and Dragons, I did not see vampires. So I don't know if that's a new thing, but I did see on their page that that was an option. So that's just an image of a vampire. A stamp of a compass. This is that gorgeous sari silk that's on the front, but you can't, it didn't have, I don't have the gold on the front, but this elephant paisley print, and it's just so beautiful. This was the gold trim. Just imagine, you know, this is obviously from a sari that has no longer been worn, so they sell the silk to crafters on eBay, or for people who's going to use it for whatever reason. Just so beautiful. And again, just a Dracula looking guy on a steed. This reminds me of my World of Warcraft dread steed. One of the first mounts you get. Again, this is those cool hair thinning scissors. Tim Holtz, ephemera, and die cuts with a view. This is where I took a map and faded it and put it on. I don't know if you can see it really well. And printed it out. A little envelope that got torn, so I just scooped it out. A little dove feather, I did steam it, that I found outside. I steamed it to make sure it didn't have any creepy crawlies on it. Special delivery, Holtz ephemera. Oh, there's the vampire. And here's another Celtic dragon card. Hey, where else is it? Oh, this is from a Vegas casino. I just chopped it out and stapled it on there. I gotta make it look a little different. Oh, isn't that beautiful? I forget what paper line that is. Maybe it is that. Maybe it's that Once Upon a Time too. Another card image. When you have paper like that, it's just too pretty to cover up, in my opinion. Ah, this is I took again a bunch of different images, faded out some, changed the colors of some, altered them, took off pieces. I think there used to be like a big owl on it. Took that out. Piece of washi tape. Where she's a bard. I thought this bard image would be beautiful for her in the Dungeons and Dragons logo. And I don't know if you can see the dragon back in there that I faded out for a background. Dungeons and Dragons player rules. They're just humorous playing rules on top of a recyclable envelope out of a little folded up piece out of a planner from the dollar store, I think. Oh, and a cat paper clip. Of course you have to have a cat paper clip because they're so cute. Go kitty go. On the other side, that map image. Just printed the back side with this. This is just heavy copy paper. So the heavy duty, I think it's Hammer Mill copy paper. It's 32 pound and it makes, to me, it's perfect for junk journals. It's not super thin. It's got a nice coat. Another Dungeons and Dragons card image. Here there be dragons. Storm paper. Love that. I don't know what caused that to be in there, but it looks really cool. And sewing around the edges. And that's storm. It's just storm goop. Piece of acetate with alcohol inking and alloys on the back. It's beautiful color. I didn't realize you probably couldn't see half of what I've been showing you. Full elven. Just a folded card. This is her other character that she made online in a sort of a comic way. Giant playing card. And some mishmashed fan art card. Abandoned paper. Oh, so beautiful. This is the book, the page out of the book, the players about rogues, and that's one of her characters is a rogue. Beautiful dragon image. Oh, beautiful. It's the Crafter's Companion glitter paper, and I ran it through an embossing folder. You have to forgive me if this video is not going to be very good, but some people had asked to see what was in it. This is, ooh, that's creepy. Like a lich guy. Little stamp seal, the tricreta. This is made out of an old antique, no, it's a antique. Antique means it's over 100 years old. Vintage means, what, over 50? I think so. This is a vintage German book that was on castles. And back here is a pocket. And this is attached, just sewn in there, and there's a little magnet back there. And this is actually a tag with some acetate. I made an acetate window. So, oh, this is one of the Celtic tarot cards. I may have to redo this entire video if it doesn't turn out right, because I'm trying to rush before my husband comes down, because I sit behind where our TV sits so that we can have our little spot together. And I'm sure he wouldn't like me talking over football. But there is a magnet in behind this, so it just attaches right there with a magnet. Seek. Simply seek. Another little dark elf. Just some painting, some inked image from that I printed on there. So this would be a great page for just a journal on. These are the Holtz antlers dies. Dreaming card. Little piece of sari silk with the gold leafing sewed on. Isn't she beautiful? graphic 45 paper. Again, this was acetate where I used to put alcohol inks, and I put the alcohol ink on the inside just so it wouldn't scratch off easy. And just a folded up piece of foiled paper. And I printed that out, just different images, and may change the color of them to add a little interest. Did a lot of sewing around the edges. A little pocket. Lots of sewing on storm paper. A real fern. Nice little journaling spot. And this is out of one of the dollar store game books for Word Hunt. My favorite Adobe printable. Again, one of those I ended up acquiring out of not reading the fine print on purchases. So anyway, I have quite a few prints that I can print out now. That seem to match. It sort of reminds me of like the old Dwarven Dungeon Dragon. I just love this. This is exactly the same image, both this and this. Just this I shrunk down and made smaller. But it printed out so great. It looks amazing. Just sewed around in different colors of thread. Just a big paper clip. Stuck a little piece of lace on it. It's a little card. I just took this little emblem and put it on top of some lined paper and printed it out. A little stenciling. Glare lining up. Okay, this is another piece of acetate where I used alcohol ink, made a little book out of the graphic 45 paper. Put lots of little stuff in it. That clover is interesting for me more so than the others because this is one that my niece and I, when she was a little girl, probably about 12 years ago, we sat out in the lawn and we found some clovers and 4-leaf clovers, and I had pressed them and I'd forgot about them. And when I was looking through my foliage, this is one she actually picked as a little girl. This opens up.